Hi guys, how are you? Thank you so much for being here. So I got really busy just now and I was in my kitchen and I was running around in my living room, in my bedroom, just making the beds and just making everything really beautiful. And the Holy Spirit just kept urging me and pushing me to get online to share about what happened to me last night. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get to it. Let me just finish what I'm doing. And then the Holy Spirit pushed me to look at my microwave and it was 11:47. Whenever I see 47, the Holy Spirit shows me 47 or urges me to look at the number 47, then I know it's yes, do it now. Or yes, you have to go. So I knew it was like, yes, I'm telling you to stop doing what you're doing, get online and explain. So the Holy Spirit wants me to explain basically the steps about what happened to me last night and just go over with you the steps of what happened and how the Holy Spirit communicates with me, and in order for me to fulfill an obligation from the Holy Spirit to whatever happened last night. So I'm going to do that with you now. So last night I went to bed, okay, about 11:45. I was watching the Netflix series about the Pope and his basically decade of being a Pope and the experiences that he had being a Pope. So I went to bed around 11:45, took a shower and got into my bed and I slept very peacefully. Now, while I was sleeping, okay, I woke up from a very strong dream. Okay, in my dream, I had a vision of this car. I didn't see the outside of the car, but I saw the inside of the car. Okay, and I saw a little girl in the back seat. Okay, I could see her face as clear as day. There were two girls sitting in the two front seats. So one was driving and one was in the passenger. So there were three girls in the car, but I couldn't see the two girls in the front. I could only see the face of the girl in the back. Okay, and the girl in the back of the car had like this glow on her. Okay, so all I saw, and it was like a 5-second clip. Okay, but what happened is all I saw was her face so frightened, and then I heard smack, and it was like this, they crashed the car. I don't know what kind of car it was, and I don't have any idea what they crashed into, but it was such a loud smack that it frightened me, and I opened my eyes out of a dead dream, okay? So literally, I looked over at the clock, and it was 1:44 in the morning. So 1:44 in the morning, I know the Hebrew concordance for 1:44 is the last month of the 12th month of the Jewish calendar. So I'm like, okay, so it's not the 12th month of the Jewish calendar. So then I looked at the Greek concordance of 1:44, and that means perception, discernment, and judgment. So right now I have perception, right? I have discernment and I have judgment. So what's another word for perception? The fact that you can foresee, right? That you know what's happening, you have a feeling about something, right? And then discernment is the ability to have judgment. And then judgment is the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. So I was like, okay, this is weird. So I'm looking at it on my phone and I'm like, okay, so somebody's gonna get in an accident somewhere, or I have to look up the meaning of getting in an accident. So it's 1:44 in the morning. So at first I look up 1:44, I look up the Hebrew, I already knew that. Then I look up the Greek, I'm like, okay, so there's perception here. So then I start looking up the meaning of car accident. While I'm doing that on my phone, I hear the loudest smack outside of my apartment. It was such a loud crash. And I immediately ran out to my living room because my entire home is completely windows, like all the way around. Like if you go into all the 3 bedrooms, you're gonna see windows. If you go into, I'm all the way up past the 40th floor. So it's like the entire house is a panoramic of windows. So it's like no matter where you are and where you're coming in, it's all windows. So I was like, I just started circling my apartment and looking down. And then all of a sudden I saw a black vehicle hit a pole, and it was right outside my house, and the car was totaled. So then I knew, okay, all right, so perception, that's me perceiving the fact that there's an accident that's about to happen. I don't need to look up the meaning of the accident because the accident just happened. So now I'm very strong in prayer. And in the past 2 years, I've been really working with 2 priests at the St. Patrick's Cathedral to really, I love priests and I'll never be able to be a priest, and I certainly want to get married and have children, so I can't be a nun. I would love to be a nun, I really would, but I can't because the Lord our God is going to have me make children and be a good wife. So I like to sit with nuns and work with them. I used to work with them in Miami a lot, and I like to sit with priests and understand their daily activities, and I like to promote my own lifestyle that way. So I worked a lot with the St. Patrick's Cathedral priests, and they used to tell me, like Father King, or there's a couple other fathers that are there that are just amazing. And they have told me that they do 30 minutes of the Psalms every day, and then they always do these specific prayers. So I've gotten really good in the past year with my praying and praying and praying. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, all right, the Holy Spirit told me about this accident. I got to get downstairs. So I'm like, I'm in my like little pajamas that you don't wear outside. So I put my sweatshirt on, I put my sweatpants on, and I am like, all right, the Holy Spirit wants me to go downstairs and pray. Even if it's from afar, let me just pray. So I go downstairs, and there's two sides of my building. They both have valet. So the first front, they don't even know what's going on. They heard it, but they don't know where it came from. And it seems like the guy just doesn't care. Then I go around to the other side, and I see the valet guy, and he shows me a picture of the car, but there's now I hear firemen coming. It's been a couple minutes since the accident, but it was pretty quick. The firemen coming, the ambulances are coming, and there's about 6 or 7 police officers that are pulling up. Okay, and it's a black Acura, and it was totaled in the front, totaled. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I look around, and it was amazing. What do I see in front of me? 3 young girls. 3 young African-American girls. And I walk over near them. And while I'm walking over near them, there's a boy in a black uniform from work, okay? And he's like, excuse me. And I was like, yes. And he's like, would you mind helping me? He's like, I just got out of work. He's like, and I don't have money right now. He's like, and I need to get to a particular address with an Uber, and my card is declined, and I just can't get there. And I was just wondering if, the next train doesn't leave until 4 or something in the morning. And he's like, and I can't wait that long. I need to go home. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, but let me just give me a second, because I got to take care of this first, and then I'm going to get back to you. So I knew the Lord was like testing me in different ways. Like, you got to help this person. I'm like, okay. So there's also another guy in the street who's like, he was a black man. He was sitting on the step next to the accident, just watching. And he says to me, he goes, how are you? I'm like, I'm good. And I was just so frantic. And not frantic, but like, it was just amazing what had just happened, because I've always had dreams and things that would happen like within a day or two, but never like immediate like that. This was the first time this ever happened. So so I go downstairs, and I see these 3 girls, and there's about 4 or 5 police officers standing with them. Okay, and they're not really talking with them. They're more talking amongst themselves, looking at the car, and the 3 girls are just huddled together. And I knew in my spirit, the Holy Spirit urges me sometimes. It's almost like somebody coming up behind me and pushing me. But the Holy Spirit will speak to me, and I hear the Holy Spirit audibly. So it's like the Holy Spirit's like, talk to them. Discernment, perception, discernment. And I'm like, perception, discernment. I'm like, okay, so if I was a mother, or if I was the sister, or if I was somebody that loved and cared about them, what would I say to them? So I'm like, excuse me. And she was like, the 3 girls were sitting together, and the one girl looked like she was older, and then the other 2 looked a little bit younger. And I said, hi. I said, how are you? I said, I don't mean to bother you. I was like, but I'm going to ask you to do yourself a favor. I was like, tomorrow, I need you to rest. And she was like, okay. And I'm like, tomorrow, I just need you to just be calm and relax, because the impact of this accident was so strong, and right now you're so worried, and you're so stressed, and you have so much emotion running through you, and adrenaline, that you don't feel the impact of what that accident just did to your body. And then I was looking at the one girl, because she's the one that told me that she was driving. When I went up to her, I was like, who was driving? That's what I said first. I said, which one of you were driving? And then she said, I was driving. And I said, okay. And I said, I don't know you very well, but I just want to tell you, tomorrow I'm going to need you to be rested. So I approached her, not to yell at her or ask her what happened about the accident, but to let her know, you don't know me, I don't know you, but if I was somebody that cared about you, this is how I would approach the situation. So I looked at her, and I'm like, just kind of went with the flow. And as I'm talking to her, okay, the Holy Spirit is starting to talk to me about what He wants me to tell her. So then she's like, well, I hurt my neck. And I'm like, right now, you're not really hurting. I'm like, but tomorrow you're gonna hurt. I go, and then I went to look at the other two girls, and it was the little girl. There was three of them, but it looked like the youngest one. Her face was the exact face that I saw in the dream. And I looked at her and I said, did you have your seatbelt on? And she was like, no. And I was like, okay. I was like, you don't know me very well and I don't know you. I go, first I'm gonna tell you this. I need the three of you girls to rest. I'm like, I need you to relax tomorrow because you're gonna be in pain. Now, and then I said to them, and as I'm talking to them to tell them about the pain that they're gonna have, the girl that is in front, she goes, I can't believe it. She goes, we crashed the car. And I looked at her and I said, don't worry about the car. I said, the car is totaled. The car is crashed. What's done is done. I was like, but what's happening right now, okay, is you're stressed about a situation that you can't do anything about. She goes, but I'm only 17. She's like, and I took the car out without asking. She's like, and I said, okay, all right. She's like, but I'm gonna get in so much trouble. And she's like, am I gonna get a ticket? I said, okay. I said, this is what's gonna happen to you. You're gonna call your mom and dad because this is their car, right? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. You're gonna tell them the truth. You're gonna say, Mom, you're gonna say, Dad, I just crashed your car. I made a big mistake. I am so lucky that I'm okay, and I'm so lucky that they're okay. And I was like, and she goes, well, these are my sisters. And I was like, oh. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I need you to say to your mom and say to your dad the truth. You don't want me to get in so much trouble. I need you to say the truth. I need you to tell them the truth. I took the car. I know I wasn't supposed to. I know I got into an accident and I made a big mistake and it scared me so much. And I really am so happy I didn't get hurt and I didn't hurt my two sisters. And I made a big mistake. And then I want you to just keep your mouth quiet. I don't want you to say another word. And she's like, okay. And I was like, you gotta tell them the truth and you gotta tell them you made a mistake because this is your fault. I was like, the whole thing that happened today is your fault. There's no questions asked. It's your fault. And number two, there is nothing in this vicinity right now that you need to go and do after 9 o'clock at night. There is no reason why you three girls need to be out here on these streets after 9 o'clock. You are going to be in trouble in some way. There's going to be somebody that could hurt you. You're going to get involved in things you're not supposed to be involved in. And this is why this accident happened. And I was like, you're going to need to tell your mom and dad you're sorry. And they're going to yell at you. They're going to scream at you. And they're going to they may yell at you. They may punish you. But it's okay. Because what's done is done. The car is totaled. You can't bend it and make it go back to the way it was. But the car is that's why they have insurance, and maybe they'll figure out a way, I'm not sure, but don't worry about the car. And I was so calm, like my spirit was so calm. It was like I was laying down in bed with like the man I love and just telling him a story that made me happy. Like I'm at Central Park and I'm laying down and I saw this bird. Like I was so calm. And I was like, I need you to just trust me. Your mom or your dad is gonna yell, they're gonna yell. I'm like, but you need to just relax and just think about how lucky you are. What would you do if you hit that pole and you were standing and your sister wasn't wearing a seatbelt? She went through the windshield and hit her head and she was going to the hospital right now. And she was like, oh my God. And I'm like, but that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And the Lord our God protected you. But he also wanted this to happen so he could teach you that you're making bad decisions. You are the oldest, right? Because she looked like the oldest. I was like, okay, so you need to protect your sisters. You need to protect them. They look up to you. And then I looked at the little girl that I saw in the back seat and I said, you need to wear your seatbelt. Every time you get in anybody's car, you need to wear your seatbelt. Number two, I'm the youngest in my family. My brothers would make mistakes and I learned from their mistakes so I wouldn't make them. I'm gonna need you guys to learn from what happened tonight so it doesn't happen again. And then the police officer said to me, I need to speak to them now. And I said, I'm almost done. The Holy Spirit was like, keep going, keep going. So I'm like, you're going to call your mom and dad right now, and you're going to tell them you got in an accident. You're going to tell them the truth about what happened. You're going to tell them that it's your fault. You're going to tell them that you're so sorry that it happened, but you're so lucky that nobody got hurt. And if they tell you you're grounded, if they tell you what I told you, that's what they told you. But I'm going to need you to let them yell. I'm going to need you to let them do whatever they're going to do. These police, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. I'm going to need you to keep your mouth quiet from right now until your parents arrive. No matter what questions these police ask you, I'm going to need you to keep your mouth quiet, because maybe or maybe not, your parents will get an attorney that will protect you. Okay, because you said you're 17, you're not 18, it's after hours. So I need you to keep your mouth quiet. And the cop's like, okay. I said, I'm not done. And they couldn't stop me, the police. So then I was like, I'm gonna need you to be at peace, to relax. And the most important thing about today is that the Holy Spirit woke me up from a dream. That dream happened at 1:44 in the morning. What time did your accident happen? 1:59. I was like, okay. It happened at 1:59, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I saw your dream. I saw you in a dream. I didn't see your face, I didn't see your sister, but I saw your little sister. So what that means to me is that this little girl is going places in life. So are you. All three of you are very special, but this young girl needs a little extra attention. In whatever way or another, she's the face I saw in the dream. And when I woke up, I started educating myself on the dream. And then all of a sudden the accident happened. So the Holy Spirit's bringing me down here to speak to you, to tell you that you three girls are absolutely beautiful. Beautiful, strong, smart young girls. And the two of you, okay, we're in the front. So the two of you may be going and doing all kinds of things, and the little one is watching what you're doing. So I'm gonna need you to protect each other. I'm gonna need you to take whatever's coming for you today, and I'm gonna need you to use this process to know that the Lord our God is watching over you guys. Because maybe your parents are good people and they pray and they love you. So you had this accident in front of my house, so I could come down here and I could look for you and I could tell you what you need to know about today and how powerful today is. It's not about you getting yelled at. It's not about the car. It's about your actions and the things that you're doing and the choices that you're making. Don't let these choices continue in your life. Look at what's happening right now. Look at the choices that you made that led up to what happened today. It's time for you to get it together. And she was like, okay, I need you to tell the truth. I need you to keep your mouth quiet. Keep it quiet, zip it. And I need you two girls to not talk until you see your parents. And I need you to be honest and let them yell at you, okay? Everything's gonna be fine. And the reason why is because none of you are hurt. None of you are hurt. Hold on. Okay, I'm so sorry, guys. I have a furniture delivery today, and they were downstairs, and they texted me, and I needed to go downstairs and let them up. So back to my story. So now I told them everything they needed to know, and the one little girl, the middle daughter, the one that was sitting in the passenger seat in the car, she said to me, can you stay here with us until our parents come? And I was like, yes. I was like, I'll stay with you, no problem. And they were like, okay. I'm like, but I have to go behind me real quick. There's a boy over there that needs my help. So I'm gonna walk over and I'm gonna help him. I was like, and then I'm gonna come back over to you guys. So in that time, the police officers are gonna come and talk to you. And I looked at her really quietly and I said, and I'm gonna need you to keep your mouth quiet until your parents show up or whoever loves you comes to see you. Because anything you say to them can be used against you, okay? So I need you to just keep it quiet and yes or no answers until your parents come. Say, I'm just waiting for my parents, And she was like, okay. So then I turned around and I went towards the boy. Now, he's just standing there waiting for me. So now I open up my phone, I'm like, what do you need? And he's like, I need to go home. He's like, I just got out of work. He's like, and I just don't have any money to get home. He's like, I was like, well, they didn't pay you at work? And he's like, yeah, but I need the money for something else. And I was like, okay. I was like, no problem, just put the address in. So I put the address in and I sent him the Uber. Now the Uber is coming to get him. So now he's all set, and now I'm going to turn around to go back to where the girls are. And the man that was sitting at the outside of my building, just kind of watching everything. It was like an African-American man. He was probably maybe 60 something years old. And he looks at me and he goes, "God bless you." He goes, "I just heard what you said to those girls." And I was like, oh, I was like, yeah. I was like, I mean, I'm so happy I could communicate with them and be a part of this process for them. And he's like, you could just tell, he's like, the calmness that came over them when you were talking to them. He's like, that was good. And I was like, all right, I was like, good. And that made me feel better, because it made me feel like, wow, like, you know, you don't want to overstep your boundaries and get involved in something you shouldn't get involved in. When the Holy Spirit tells you to do something, you got to do it. So now I turn around from talking to him, the other guy's waiting for the Uber, and I look and I see her, the two girls, but I don't see the other girl. And I'm like, uh-oh, did they take her? Did they arrest her? What do I see? I see her farther away on her phone, and she's on the phone, and she's talking to whoever's on the phone. And she's like, and all I hear is, "It's my fault. I made a big mistake, and I just need you to come and see me." And I was like, good girl. So now I'm sitting away watching what happened, okay? And the Holy Spirit is like, leave. And I'm like, leave. I'm like, okay. So now I go back and I stand next to this man, okay? And I'm standing next to the man, and I'm sitting there, standing next to the man. I'm just sitting there. And now I see the police officer is talking to the girl. There's another police officer talking to the other two girls, and I'm away from everything that's happening. So the little girl is looking for me. She don't see me, the little girl that was in the back seat. She's looking, and then she catches eyes with me, and I was probably pretty far away where the police officers couldn't see me. And I looked at her, and the police officer's talking to her, and she looks right at me, and I look at her and I go, and she was like, she just didn't answer any questions. So then I see the other girl. She's on the opposite, just there's about 3 police officers' cars. She's on the other side. And now she's off the phone with her mom, and she's the one about to get in trouble. And she's looking at me, and they're putting the cuffs on her, right? They're getting her, I guess she's gonna get arrested because she's underage, not supposed to be, whatever. And she turns around, okay? And she's really upset, she's starting to cry. And she turns around and she looks at me, and I went, like, quiet, keep your mouth quiet. So she just, and I was like, oh my God, Holy Spirit. So then about 45 minutes goes by, and the parents pulling up, and I just turned around. My job was done here, and I went back upstairs to my apartment. So I go back upstairs to my apartment, and I go upstairs, and I got my little Liam, my little Yana. You know, they're all worked up because now I'm awake. So my animals are like, "What happened, Mom?" So I come inside, and I'm like talking to them like they're my kids. I'm like, "Oh, is an accident outside? What? I'm gonna tell you what happened. I got down on the floor because I still don't have my furniture yet for my living room. So I get down on the floor, and I made my whole living room like a pet playland because it's just me and them right now. So I get on the floor, and I'm talking to them, playing with the toys, and the Holy Spirit's like, look up at the TV, look at the TV. And so I look up at the TV, and what do I see? I see a blank, my TV goes and does these like different like screen, what do you call them, screensavers, but it like comes from pictures and animations, but it was just a clear sky, like a clear night sky on the screen, and it said 404. So that I was like, and that was the 3rd time I saw 404 in the last 3 days. So I saw 404, and I immediately went to the Hebrew concordance and looked up 404. Okay, so 404 means to press or to urge or to crave. So the meaning of 404 in the Hebrew concordance, the word for that is a calf, okay? And that's the Hebrew word meaning to curve as with a burden. So there's a burden, right? This girl is burdened by the situation, and I allowed her to curve or pressed her to just curve away from whatever was happening with her. So whatever emotions she had, it was curving it. I was like, okay. So maybe I curved her from whatever burden she was feeling. I kind of brought her more to discernment, right? To the ability to have judgment about what happened. So I kind of helped her there. So I'm like, okay, so Holy Spirit, got it. So I'm like, maybe I was helpful in that way. So it's about 4:04 in the morning. Now this is probably maybe like 10 minutes of being in my apartment when I looked at the clock. Okay, so in that time, everybody left. The car was towed, people downstairs. I didn't know that. So while I'm looking up 404, I look up the Greek Strong's Concordance for 404. And you can look it up yourself. Just go 404 Hebrew Strong's Concordance or 404 Greek Strong's Concordance. So I look up the Greek Strong's Concordance, and what does it mean? It means to refresh. It means I refresh, I revive, I comfort. It's I, not they. It's I. So I refresh, I revive, I comfort. And it means bringing much needed, much welcomed relief, causing someone to recover, okay, after a time of anxiety and trouble. That is the meaning of the Greek Strong's Concordance for 404. So the Holy Spirit's telling me that I've refreshed this family, these daughters, these girls, from whatever it was that they were involved in, wherever they were going, whatever they've been involved in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever they've learned, I've caused them to be washed. I've caused them to be refreshed. So I went in and I gave them love. And by showing them love and showing them comfort, like the sister they never had or the sister that they needed at that moment, I was able to refresh them, I was able to revive them, and I was able to give them comfort. So the Holy Spirit is verifying to me this is what I've done. So if you look it up, I'm gonna add it to this. So just look at the post that I put next to this. So bringing much needed, much welcomed relief, causing someone to recover. I wrote it down. I'm reading off a post-it. Okay, so after a time of anxiety and trouble, to encourage, to cheer up. So then I saw that, and then I immediately went to one of my windows because I was in one of the guest rooms. And I went into one of the windows, and I looked down, and there was nobody there. So what had happened is the Holy Spirit had told me that this is what I had done. And everything that just happened tonight was meant to be. And the Lord our God, before I was born, before I was created in my mother's womb, the Lord our God orchestrates our steps. And when I'm following the Holy Spirit and doing what is asked of the Lord our God and following His will for my life, I am going to begin to fulfill the requirements that the Lord our God has made me in order to do. Like I'm fulfilling the requirements of learning, of educating, of trying to do as what the God and Holy Spirit are asking me to do every day so I can touch the lives that I need to touch. So I don't know how this is going to benefit you in whatever way, but the Holy Spirit wanted me to get on and to discuss step by step what has happened to me as of last night. And then I don't know what happens in your life. I don't know what your job is in this world. Okay, I don't know what it is that you do, but whatever it is that you do, you touch lives. Okay, with whatever it is that the Lord our God has created you to do with your hands and with your soul and with your body and with your mind. So whatever the Lord is pushing you to do, He's asking you to do it because you're changing somebody in some setting in your career in some way. And the Lord our God needs you to do exactly what it is that you do and to do it the best of your ability, so that you can fulfill the requirements and the guidelines the Lord our God has requested you to do in your lifetime. And I'm just so happy I can help you guys understand. These are my notes starting from the beginning. So 144, Greek ethical matters. So if you look up the 144, the Greek meaning, it means ethical matters. So it's like I need to go over the ethics of what exactly was happening with these 3 girls, right? It says 12th month, Hebrew 12th month of the Jewish calendar, which is the 6th month of the year. So it's actually would have been May. So this is June. So I knew that didn't have anything to do with it. That's why I looked up the Greek Strong's Concordance. And then perception, noun, it's actually feminine. So this is about a female. Amazing, right? And then ability to judge well, discernment, judgment, the ability to consider decisions or come to sensible conclusions. So because of showing me 144 and waking up, I needed to go downstairs because I needed to show these 3 girls a sensible conclusion that'll protect them and bring them understanding in the situation. So I'm just so grateful that the Lord our God has chosen me to do this, and I hope that this helps you to understand that God is very much real, that Jesus is very much alive and well, and the Holy Spirit is very strong in our lives, and when He speaks to us, we need to act. Okay? And take care of yourselves. Have an amazing day, and God bless you all. Take care. Bye.